What is up, FA Nation? Happy Tuesday. Not so happy Tuesday in terms of value here, Steve, but what's up? What's going on, FA Nation? Happy to have you for the 6-game breakdown on today's Fantasy Alarm NBA DFS live stream. As you can see, no John and Pemba. We have a much upgraded version of him here with us today. Steve Pimental, what's going on, Steve?
Well, that's only because John's under the weather, and he could have had his Jordan flu game, but we'll let him rest up for the next one.
It is true. John is feeling under the weather, so Steve sliding in. Thank you again, Steve, for being here. And Matt Sells behind the camera, as always. Appreciate you producing. So let's just get right into it, Steve. We have quite the ugly slate on our hands, and not in terms of projections, scores. Vegas has all the scores projected pretty high. There's not a lot of injuries today. I'm going to read off the list, and it's going to be a quick one. John Collins playing, Jeremy Lin out, Dwayne Dedman out, all the Pacers, Miles Turner, Corey Joseph, Victor Oladipo, they will play. Taurean Prince is playing, 15-minute restriction. Josh Richardson playing. Giannis playing. So we're really, Derrick Rose playing, are expected to play. Jeff Teague expected to play. So we're really just truly waiting on Gary Harris and Trey Lyles, both whom are questionable for the Nuggets. And unfortunately, it's a 9:05 game. So it's very unlikely that we get that news anytime before roster lock. So FanDuel kind of, SOL. DK, we could definitely make adjustments after lineup lock. But heading over to Vegas, as I mentioned, 232.5 to start us off in Minnesota, Philly. A lot of revenge there. A lot of revenge. 6.5 point spread. Philly's favored at home. Phoenix, Indiana, 219. Indiana, 10.5 point favorites at home. Oklahoma City traveling to Atlanta, 234.5 total. Biggest number we have on the slate. Currently only 9.5. Kind of weird to see Atlanta in less than 10 in a single digit spread, but they have been playing better at home lately, so take that for what it's worth. Miami traveling to Milwaukee tonight. Milwaukee 8.5 point favorites, 218 total. Golden State and Denver. And John and I talked about this on the podcast today, that we don't rarely see Golden State in this type of total. It's only a 1 point spread. It's 228 with a 1 point spread. So we do want to take advantage of Golden State guys and even Denver guys, because we're not projecting a blowout here. At least Vegas isn't. Chicago, and then our late night hammer, Chicago, LA, 215.5. Lakers are 7 point favorites at home. They have hinted at a lineup change, and the rumblings are Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. We'll wait and see. Obviously, it's a 10:35 game. So again, FanDuel, you're probably going to have to play a guessing game. I mean, it's not the worst idea because of how poor a value we have today. If you want to take a shot on KCP, maybe. If you want to take a shot on Michael Beasley, maybe Ivica Zubac is the one who magically starts. I don't know. But what we do know is that we don't have a lot of value. So let's just jump into it, Steve. And we're going to start at point guard. And, Russell Westbrook for me is the top play on the slate. And I said it to you a little before we got on air, and I've said it in the past, that we have to let the slate dictate who we play. And I think on FanDuel it's viable to play Westbrook all formats. And I think you could play him on DraftKings if you're comfortable with a lineup that you make. But, again, there is a lack of value everywhere right now. And I think even though Westbrook, I think there's a guy under him in Steph Curry that I don't know if I would say he has a similar ceiling, because we know Westbrook can go off for 100, and we haven't seen Curry do that. But would you see yourself pivoting to Steph Curry in a cash game, or would you just ride out with Russell Westbrook in a cash game format?
Well, when we were talking beforehand, I was definitely in the mode of just going down to Steph because we both like him tonight. With we're going to talk about, and you already mentioned, it's not a wide point spread, not expected to be a blowout, which you can't say very often about the Warriors. So my inclination is to just go down for Steph and use that money elsewhere because you're probably going to need it. But you made a good point about FanDuel. I was able to put a lineup together that I don't hate, that only has like two minimum salary players. There's a little bit of value to be squeezed out. So I like Westbrook a lot, but there's nothing wrong with going down to Steph. If you can't make the salaries work, or if you can't bring yourself to play Omari Spellman, which no one would blame you for it, then go ahead and play Steph, and I think you can be confident.
I'm in the same line of thinking with you because the thing is, Omari Spellman is probably going to be the highest owned value play of the slate. He played 30 minutes the other day. He gave us 30 fantasy points, and he's done it in the past. And then he's been chalked the next game, and he's been horrible, which is scary. But because we're searching for value, I think you probably play Spellman in cash. You could fade him in tournaments. That's fine. But you play him in cash games. But I'm with you. I think I'm more on the lines of playing Westbrook on FanDuel, fading him on DraftKings because I'm more comfortable with my builds with Steph Curry over there. Mm-hmm. Fair?
Absolutely.
Moving down, I think Ben Simmons is a tournament play. I don't know where he fits into this whole revengey game today. And he's really expensive, so I don't think we need to go there, but I think you could play him in tournaments. I think Jamal Murray is just always a tournament guy. I think because of the spread, because the total, because Denver gets a big pace-up spot, firmly in play for tournaments. Just because someone's not written up in the playbook doesn't mean we don't like them. I just want to get that out of the way early. I didn't write him up today, but I do think Jamal Murray is an excellent tournament player. He has, real 50-point upside. Like it is what it is. That's the type of upside he possesses. So next tier is where it really starts to get interesting for me. Lonzo Ball, Trae Young, Eric Bledsoe, Chris Dunn. Who out of that next tier are you most intrigued by? If not all of them, because I have a little interest in all four. Probably Bledsoe being the least likely to crack my lineups, but I do love Ball, Dunn, and Trae Young quite a bit.
It's tough. They're all good players. I don't really like Lonzo's the only one who well, I wouldn't even say that. Chris Dunn is the one who I like the matchup for. Miami and Chicago are two of the slowest teams in the league over the last 15 games, so that scares me. Trae Young is kind of like Jamal Murray, is always a GPP play, but Oklahoma City, obviously one of the best defensive teams in the league. But then we come back to, kind of our motto for today is, with the way the slate is, you kind of have to take what you can get. So for me, that's probably going to be Chris Dunn. Just, the Lakers are going to try to get up and down in this game. And if that's the case, then maybe Dunn gets some steals, gets some transition buckets.
And that's kind of my thinking too. And I don't personally like attacking Lonzo Ball. I think Lonzo Ball is a very good defender. He presents a lot of problems, and the DVP numbers kind of match up with that sentiment. Lakers are very good against point guards. But Dunn just is so good peripherally, we're not really counting on him to get us 25 actual points. There's been 2 or more steals in 4 straight games. We have a bunch of rebounds every game. We have a bunch of assists every game. 15 of his last 17 have been 7 or more assists. So I like Chris Dunn a lot. I think Lonzo on the flip side is in play. We're finally seeing a little consistency. That's why I said it. Again, there's not a lot of options here. Right. Once we get past these 4 guys, we're really pulling hairs and really where do I go? So, there is upside. There has been a little more consistency last 6 games, 31 fantasy points per game. Puts him right on par with, his 6.7 evaluation, a little under it, but, we did see a 40-point game last time out, so I do like Dunn. And Trae Young, tournament guy, and it's a really tough matchup. But, again, the Hawks are improving as a team because their young guys are improving. Trae Young, even in a 20-point loss, played 33 minutes and gave us 44 fantasy points. So I think, the times of all right, it's a blowout. He's out. He's coming out. Is over. He's going to play the minutes, and there's no Jeremy Lin. He's going to play big minutes tonight, regardless. So I do like Trae Young, especially if Dennis Schroeder. If this game does become well, and Dennis Schroeder's on the floor, I don't know if you've ever seen Dennis Schroeder play defense, but it's quite a sight. He doesn't actually play defense. That's kind of where I'm going there. But so going down, like, do you have any interest in anybody? I mean, I'm going to be honest. I have a very small amount of interest in DeAnthony Melton. Very small. But Devin Booker's starting, no minutes restriction. So I don't think we need to go there. If Gary Harris was ruled out, Monty Morris is point guard eligible only on DK. I think he would become a decent play, but then again, like, if Will Barton's minutes get extended, does that chip into Monty Morris minutes? I know it's going to chip into Torrey Craig, but I mean, like, do you have any interest in anyone down here, Steve?
No. I mean, you made good points about Melton on the podcast, and I don't hate him, but I'm doing everything I can to stay out of the cheap guys at point guard. There's just no, for as little value as there is on the slate, there's more value at other positions. So I'm paying up at point guard.
I agree. I will just throw out TJ McConnell's name because,
I think we're obligated, right?
Yeah,
contract.
I think contractually we have to mention TJ McConnell, but nothing more about TJ McConnell. Let's go on to shooting guard, where Devin Booker tops the list. I'm not going to play Devin Booker. I think you can if you want. I think Devin Booker is an elite scorer, and I say that on every podcast. He's one of the best. Just when he gets in a rhythm, he's one of the best scorers in the NBA. Don't think we need to do it. I think we can if we want to. Same thing with Victor Oladipo. I think he has a better spot. I think it's a better price. But the guy I'm looking at is Jimmy Butler. And I know that this fit isn't the greatest. His fit in Philly isn't the greatest. But he is just the person that he has become. There is no possible way that he's just going to float through this game against Minnesota, a team that he just, pooped all over, the PG version of this stream, from organization to players, calling them soft, and he's now going up against these players. You know damn well Andrew Wiggins and Jimmy Butler will be guarding each other all night, and I just don't see how this offense isn't running through Butler whether or not they want it to run through Butler or not, it's going through Butler tonight. And I'm not going to call him a cash play because there's still Joel Embiid and there's still Ben Simmons there. But he's damn close. If you have 7-6 on DK, I would consider it, and I really love him for tournaments as well.
Yeah, I think I would play him in cash. I'm probably going to have him in a cash lineup or two. And in my mind's eye, I think this is like the real life version of the practice that he had when he just came in. Other than the fact that his new team is much better than the third string, but I just think he's just gonna go in and just look to completely dominate. I think he's we might see him guard Andrew Wiggins 100 feet from the basket and just harass everyone the entire game. I just think he's going to be like you said. We know his personality, and I'm sure the minute he got traded, he circled this game on the calendar.
Yeah, and that's like just knowing both of us saying it out loud, it just reiterates it for me. It's a lock. He is going to. You're right. The third string. That's who we practice with. That infamous practice where he said he kicked their ass and yada yada yada. So I mean, for me, it's Jimmy Butler at the top, and then followed by Oladipo Booker. But I mean, there is more people at the position, and I'm personally on the Zach LaVine train tonight. I put him in my core 4 guys tonight, on top of the playbook, and it's because the Lakers just don't defend shooting guards. Now maybe if they do insert KCP to their starting lineup, that's an improvement. Obviously, KCP is a pretty good defender, but LaVine comes to this game in really good form. 4 of his last 5 games, he's gone for 20 actual points. The usage rate's back up, and in each of those games, he's taken at least 16 shots. And in 4 of the 5, he's gone for at least 33 fantasy points. So I love Levine. I think the price tag is really nice on him. And if Chris Dunn is neutralized by Lonzo, Levine's going to do a lot of the ball handling. So if you don't believe in Chris Dunn and you do believe in Zach Levine, I mean, that's good because Levine's going to be handling the ball while Dunn plays off. So I really like Levine. But going down, like, where does your interest lie? I mean, Klay Thompson's in an okay spot. Wiggins, he's also in a revenge spot. I mean, not that he was ever on Philly, but I can't imagine he just lets Jimmy Butler do whatever he wants and doesn't respond, right?
Well, that's pretty much what he did when they were teammates.
Right.
So, that's kind of what I'm expecting is for him to just roll over and show his belly. I mean, maybe that's not fair. Maybe he has newfound confidence. He certainly has newfound confidence when they're not playing against Jimmy Butler, but I'm not. I understand why you would go there and, he should be motivated. He should want the ball in his hands, but I don't know that he's proven that he's that kind of guy. So I'm probably staying away, except maybe in a GPP. The other revenge game that I do like for shooting guard is Dennis Schroeder. He wasn't awesome in his first game against Atlanta, but I want to say 36 fantasy points on DK, which is more than enough given his price and considering the slate. And then another guy who's similarly priced, who I expect is going to be a lot higher owned, is Kevin Huerter with Alex Lynn out. I know we'll get to some other Hawks who will probably be more popular than Huerter.
Jeremy Lin, you mean? Jeremy Lin, you mean?
Oh, yeah.
Alex Lynn. Alex Lynn. You combined Alex Lynn and Jeremy Lin. It's probably the first and last time that will ever be done. But, Jeremy Lin is out. Alex Lynn is playing.
Wow. I don't even know what to say to that other than I'm sorry. But, yeah, with Jeremy Lin out, Kevin Huerter is in play. Though, of the two, I think I like Dennis Schroeder better.
I agree. 36 fantasy points and your return against your old team is pretty damn good. And Schroeder's coming off a really good game in San Antonio, 37 fantasy points. So I think this is a good spot for him. I'm with you. I think this is a really nice tournament play at a nice price tag. Down here at the bottom, again, another position that's just, it's not pretty. There's not a lot of options. I mentioned on the podcast, Wayne Selden has played 21 and 26 minutes in back-to-back games. I don't think we need to do it, but if you're really bargain shopping and you're looking for a min salary punt on FanDuel specifically where, it's like, oh, well, Selden didn't play, let's just drop the score, then I think that's viable. But other than that, like, Dion Waiters maybe in kind of like the same situation as I view Selden. Like, if you want to play him on FanDuel, Giannis officially in just before we transition over to small forward. But like, if you want to play Waiters in the tournament on FanDuel, that's fine. You can drop his score too. Anyone else?
No, maybe the Denver guys.
The Denver guys.
On Gary Harris, but Gary
Harris definitely in play if he has no minute restriction, and Malik Beasley probably a cash game guy. To be honest, if Gary Harris is ruled out. I know Will Barton's back, but he still played 37 minutes the other day. He affects Torrey Craig's minutes, Will Barton, more than he affects Malik Beasley's. So I think if we get the news on Gary Harris, I'm going to pivot to Malik Beasley. Let's go to small forward. But before we do, Steve has some to let everyone know.
Thanks, James. I want to talk to you about Prize Picks. And I mentioned it last week on the live stream. I actually hope everyone had a chance to check out my Prize Picks article in Fantasy Alarm on Monday. I'll be doing that every Monday, at least for the rest of the NBA season and probably beyond. So keep a lookout for that. And we've got some great offers for Prize Picks. First of all, you can get the Jim Bowden's Fantasy Alarm Fantasy Baseball Draft Guide for free from Prize Picks. So not only do you get to play NBA with us at least once a week on Prize Picks, but you also get the Fantasy Alarm Draft Guide free. And even more, you get a free entry with a $50 cash prize. Unfortunately, my free $50 entry yesterday didn't go very well because I went under on Kemba Walker. But hopefully, you won't have the same. The same mistake. And the reason I wanted to talk about it here is because you and I both gushed over Jimmy Butler in the revenge game. And so on Prize Picks, all you have to do is pick over under. You choose how many players you want, and you pick over under on today's projection. So I think I know what you're going to say, but I'm going to ask you, Jimmy Butler over under 40 fantasy points.
I'm going to go over. I'm going to go over.
I think that's an easy call. We might disagree on this, but Andrew Wiggins, I'm going under. It's 34.8, which isn't a huge total, but I just don't expect a whole lot from him. We're going to mention DeAndre Bembry coming up, 25.6 fantasy points. I think I'm going over with that. What do you think?
I'm going to actually agree with you and go under on Wiggins. I'm going to go... What is Bembry? 25.6?
25.6.
I'm going to go, he's going to get 27. Just over, but.
Right. Well, and there you go, because one of the great things about Prize Picks is you choose how many picks you want to make. So if you're more confident on Bembry, then pick all three. And if you do, then you win. If you pick 3 times, I can't find it in front of me, but I believe you win 5 times your entry. And if you pick 2, it's 2.5 times. And if you pick all 4, it's 10 times. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that's correct. So if you only like Wiggins and Butler, you can enter that and win 2.5 times your entry if you're correct. And so, as I said, you get the free $50 entry. Also, entry with a $50 cash prize. You also get a $100 instant deposit match. And all of that is just for going to myprizepicks.com/alarm. So you get, as I said, you get the entry, the deposit match, our fantasy alarm MLB draft guide, and that address again is myprizepicks.com/alarm.
Perfect. And it's pretty simple, man. Over under. And it's perfect transition to small forward since Butler's small forward eligible, Bembry's small forward eligible, and Wiggins is also small forward eligible. At the top, small forward, Giannis is going to play. I think he's an elite play, but it's tough. It's going to be tough to get him in today. I prefer Westbrook if paying up, and you can't play both with the value on the slate. So I'm going to be playing Westbrook. I think Giannis is an elite play at that, but it's just where I'm going. I would rather play Paul George or Kevin Durant. Agreed?
Yeah, totally agree. And, it's not, obviously Giannis is pretty much matchup proof, but it's not a good matchup for him. They have a lot of bodies to throw at him. They play slow. And we both really like Paul George and Kevin Durant. And again, it's just that savings is so valuable on a slate like tonight.
Yeah. It's really hard to ignore Paul George's matchup here. Atlanta 30th. I'm pretty much saying the same thing about Westbrook or about George as I did about Westbrook. They're 30th against small forwards as well as they're 30th against point guards. They get a huge pace-up spot. I don't know. There's just nobody going to be able to stop him. I know he only went for 35 fantasy points in that first meeting, but he also wasn't where he is now. And if you look at Paul George, he's actually been significantly better on the road this year, which is weird. 51 fantasy points on the road compared to 46.7 at home. So almost 4 points better on the road. For whatever reason, he's just plays better on the road. So I love Paul George. I think Kevin Durant is an elite tournament pivot at that. After that, especially on FanDuel, it gets ugly, man. It gets ugly really fast. This is another slate where small forward is really terrifying. Justice Winslow, for me, is firmly in play. He continues to run the point guard there. And, back-to-back 40-point games, fantasy point games. He saw 26 actual points against Memphis the last time out.
Hmm.
I would have locked him into all formats, every format owned imaginable if Josh Richardson wasn't playing, but Josh Richardson is playing. So we do have to deal with that. I still like, I want to play Winslow in tournaments on DK because I don't think we can afford to put him in cash on DK. If you're using like a Westbrook, but on FanDuel where we have to play two guys at small forward, I'm just locking him in and moving on.
Yeah, totally agree.
Anyone else you're looking at small forward? TJ Warren is cheap, but and the thing I'm struggling with about TJ Warren is Indiana's first against small forwards this year in DVP. They're first. They're the best defensive team against small forwards. Devin Booker's back, but Indiana has been bad against power forwards, which is where TJ Warren is playing 99% of his floor time, according to Basketball Reference. So, does that make you like TJ Warren any more than you did?
A little bit, before we got on, you were mentioning the ownership angle,
Right.
which is interesting. But I don't know. I think you can tell from the way we're both talking about him that we're kind of on the fence, and it's, if you have to, we're fine with it. I wouldn't be actively trying to get TJ Warren in your lineup.
Right. I think it's like you have 6K, you have 6.2, then it's like, all right,
Yeah,
I'm okay with that. I'm not like it's not like, all right, first my slate is my lineups are blank, TJ Warren, first person I'm inputting there.
yeah,
That's not.
absolutely not.
Um Going down, who else do you like, Steve? I mean, again, very bleak.
Yeah, I mean, it to me, it's basically Kelly Oubre or DeAndre Embry. Um, Oubre, we've seen his upside lately, but I mean, just his last three games on FanDuel, 49.7, 22.7, 48. I mean, at least he's playing 30 minutes a game. Is it as simple as saying Bembry for cash and Oubre for GPP?
Yeah, that's probably how it'd go too. I mean, I'm very interested though with Oubre to see how his minutes, how they pan out with Devin
With
Booker returning
Booker?
from the lineup. Yeah.
Yeah.
I still think he's viable. I'm not saying he's not. I just do think that is something we need to monitor. We're not playing Torian Prince with only on a 15-minute restriction. We can't do that. I think if KCP were to draw a start, I think he could be an option. Whatever. Interesting note: the Timberwolves are going to bring Derrick Rose off the bench and start Josh Okogie. Okogie is very cheap if you want to play him. I don't think he's going to get so like extended run, but
Mhm.
I do think that he's a cheap starter if you want to look into him. And I mean, he played 42 minutes in the last game, so scored 28 fantasy points, back-to-back double-digit scoring outings. Can do it if you want. I'm not playing Will Barton unless we get a firm stance on his minutes. I'm not going to play him at 5K for 14 minutes. I think that's ludicrous. Michael Beasley, I'm fine with that for a tournament if you want to just take a dart on a guy who can give you literally 20 fantasy points in 10 minutes.
Mhm.
Other than that, I think Andre Iguodala, another value play. Chandler Hutchinson, if we're really like dumpster diving, is still starting. And he finally gave us 20. He gave us 25 fantasy points last game. He's a good shooter. You know,
Yeah.
whatever. He's a whatever guy. 3.6K you have left. He's not the worst. It can get worse. I think so.
Right.
If you have anyone else, are you ready to move on to power forward?
I just want to push back on Iguodala real quick. I
Okay.
mean, at that price, I'm never going to tell you it's a bad call, but he played 30 minutes against Dallas, which I think was mostly just about matching up with why is
Luka
my
Don,
mind blanking?
Luka
Thank you.
Doncic.
Yes. So I'm really not expecting him to play quite that much. Maybe if Gary Harris is active, but again, don't hate it, but don't love it either.
Only reason I bring up Iguodala is because he tends to play in closer games,
Right.
and he tends to get extended run. And I'm not sitting here saying he's going to give us 30 fantasy points because I
Yeah.
don't think that's true. But we're also only looking for 20 out of him. So I don't think it's like the worst last piece. Same
Yeah,
as like Chandler Hutchinson, like 3.9K. I don't think it's the worst like final piece, especially
yes.
considering that game has a 228 total. It's going to be up tempo. It's in the high altitude where there's going to be a lot of points scored. So I'm just, and it's a revenge narrative. Andre Iguodala used to play for Denver. So,
Right.
just
Yeah, that's fair.
whatever. It's not like a must play, but
Right.
moving on to power forward as we approach, we're already at 6:30. I like Sabonis more before. I don't think we could play him at that price tag with Miles Turner back. John Collins is okay. I don't love him. I don't love the fact that Paul George and Westbrook are going to have free reign to the rim and going to be met by Collins, who could foul him, have 2 fouls in the first couple minutes in this one. Even if he's guarding Steven Adams too. Like if he guards Steven Adams, that could be an issue as well. So I don't love him. I think he's fine for tournaments. I love Draymond today for tournaments.
Hmm.
I think he correlates well with Steph Curry. I just think those two mesh well. If Curry's scoring a lot, I think a lot of the assists are coming from Draymond Green. And the peripherals have been there. We just need a little more. We just need a little more scoring, and we'll get there. 30 fantasy points over his last 4 games, I think, is intriguing. I love Kyle Kuzma tonight. I think he's one of my favorite plays. Tournaments, cash, doesn't matter. 7-3 is too cheap for a guy who's gone for 40 plus fantasy points in 2 of his last 3 games. Rattle off some more names at power forward that you like, Steve, if there are any.
There aren't a ton. Really, if I'm not playing Kuzma or Draymond or John Collins, as you mentioned, I'm going super cheap. I'm a sucker for Patrick Patterson, but he did play 22 minutes with Nerlens Noel out. Noel is out again. So, again, we're just kind of desperate for value, and he makes a nice pivot away from Omari Spellman, who we mentioned before, who, pretty much everyone's going to play because he's starting and he's he's mid price.
Yeah, and I'll just mention Spellman since, the Pat thing makes sense as well because if this game does become a blowout, which obviously is possibility, he'll play the minutes. So
Yes.
I definitely don't hate that. But Spellman, again, he's min salary on FanDuel. He's 3,800 on DK. Played 30 minutes last game, gave us 30 fantasy points. It's not the first time he's done this either. He's had extended run in the past, and he's putting up viable numbers. It's obviously scary because if he's the one guarding Steven Adams, he's undermatched. He's undersized. Adams is a bully. But Adams is around the rim, so there will be rebounding opportunities for Spellman. So I do like Spellman, as a value play. I think Bobby Portis and Wendell Carter, Wendell Carter is a FanDuel play. He's a power forward on FanDuel. I think they're both options. I love the fact that Wendell Carter's been staying out of foul trouble. And that's kind of been his bugaboo since the season has started. And now, 28 minutes per game over his last 5, I think he's viable. And Portis, he doesn't need a lot of time to put up numbers. 26 fantasy points in 16 minutes, 22 and 19, and 24 and 20, the 3 games since being back from injury. So I think Portis, they put him on a 28-minute cap. I'm not saying he's going to hit that 28-minute cap. They put that the other day. He's not going to hit it, but he could. And then Saric and Tosh Gibson, last 2 guys. Gibson still playing 26 minutes. Saric in a revenge factor. But let's finish it off at center. How do you decipher this top of the list, Steve? Because there are 3 guys that are 10K on DraftKings and all 11 or more K on FanDuel.
I wouldn't argue with any order. I'm going to go Embiid, Jokic, and Towns. Towns against Jimmy Butler. I have the same concerns with Towns as I do with Andrew Wiggins. Not to the same extent, and Towns has been playing out of his mind lately. But Joel Embiid obviously is a difficult matchup for anyone. So I'm going Embiid, Jokic, and Towns. But what do you think?
I would probably switch it up a little bit, and it's very hard to obviously pick between any of them because they're Jokic and Towns are both averaging nearly 60 fantasy points per game over their last 5. Embiid's just over 50. I'm going to probably go Jokic 1, Towns 2, Embiid 3, but it's not like 1, 2, 3. It's like 1A, 1B, 1C.
Yes.
It is more than, that's what it is. It's not like, clear one, clear two, clear three. It's very close. I would probably play Jokic in a cash game format, and I'd probably play, if I was picking one, I'd probably play Towns in a tournament. Because I do think since Butler's left, I think it's pretty clear he's been more assertive offensively, and I don't think that's a coincidence, obviously. And I think he's mad at Jimmy Butler for stealing his girlfriend. So I take that for what it's worth. Going down the list, I think Ayton's fine for tournaments. I don't love him as much as I did because I think Miles Turner is a very good rim protector, very good defender. So I have mild interest in him. Same as Hassan Whiteside. Whiteside has 50-point upside. He has a 10-point floor because he could play 10 minutes. I don't think that's a secret. I love Steven Adams tonight. I think he's just the cash lock. You throw him, you put him at center, and you move on. He gets us to 30 fantasy points regardless of situation. Like in a blowout, or if he doesn't score, or if he doesn't rebound, he'll get us there. Like there's just he just finds a way to get us to 30, and then it's just like kind of move on. But where are you finishing up at center? Take us to the promised land, Steve.
Brooke Lopez, as you mentioned on the podcast, I think against Hassan Whiteside, he should get some open looks. And then Alex Len, not to be confused with Jeremy Lin. He was very good earlier in the season when Dwayne Dedmon was out. He had 21 fantasy points in 17 minutes in his last game. And the 17 minutes, I mostly blame on the fact that he fouled out.
Right.
And obviously that's possible against Steven Adams, but I like Alex Len, especially at his price, and he might be the least popular out of the Hawks in today's slate.
Yeah, and I think he's definitely viable for tournaments. I mean, the Hawks are going to be very popular tonight, and it's weird to think because OKC is such a good defensive team, and Atlanta's just not a good team on the grand scheme of things. But I do think there is some merit to playing Alex Len. Again, it is scary. It is scary for both Len and Spellman going up against Steven Adams. I think Adams could bully the both of them. But I agree with you. Brooke Lopez as well can pull people away from the rim. Other than that, though, I think if we do see a lineup change and like it happens to be as a pick of Zubac over JaVale McGee, I think that could be interesting because they were playing well with Zubac. I think that would be a guy I would pivot to literally in milliseconds if we did find out he was starting. But unless you have any final thoughts, I think that does it, Steve.
Yeah, I'm just excited to get in the chat and excited for this slate to start.
Like Steve said, roster locks at 7, so we will be in chat for the next 22 minutes. I know we did run over a little bit, but lineups are out. Pivots will be coming. I wanted to wait for more injury news to come out before I really made any pivots. But thanks again to Matt Sells for producing. Good luck tonight, everybody, and we are out.